Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling to order the House Committee on Consumer Protection and Commerce. It is February 28th. March 1st. New month. All right, it is 2 p.m. and we're in conference room 329. It'll be a short agenda today, but we will be limiting testimony to 2 minutes. For those who are on Zoom, please mute yourself and turn your video off until you are called to testify. If you are having trouble, you could use the chat function to contact our IT staff and get it sorted out. If not, we'll be coming back to you later if we have time for testimony. First on the agenda, we have HB 218 HD1 relating to prescription drugs. First to testify, we have James Skwetzky, Executive Director from the Board of Pharmacy, with comments.
Hello, Chair. Just here to stand on our written testimony and answer any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have James Goschel, National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii, in support.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair and members. I'm James Goschel, representing the National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii. I hope you pass this bill. This bill is about helping us identify our prescription drug bottles with a little label, and actually the technology readily exists and is very easy to provide, which puts a little RFID tag on the bottom of a prescription bottle, and if you hold your phone up to it, it tells you what the drug item is. I noticed in their testimony that the Board of Pharmacy recommends just counseling us. I don't think the counselor is going to be at my house when I need to know when to take my prescription drug, and if I've got 5 bottles, which one is which. If they want to supply a counselor at my house, I suppose that would work, but I don't think that's what's contemplated. So this bill, with the very inexpensive technology, would be the way to solve that problem, and we hope you pass it. Mahalo for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Tabitha Mitchell from the National Organization of Parents of Blind Children, in support.
Hi. Yes, I'm a parent of a blind child, and I also serve across the state of Hawaii with the Organization of Parents of Blind Children, helping other parents with their blind kids. And these kids are learning to use technology as they go through school. It's how they do school every day. It's how they turn their homework in. It's how they do their math. And a lot of that also has to do with scanning technology. And I think all of us in this room have probably scanned the menu of late, thanks to Corona. So scanning technology is not a hard lift. It's not a hard thing to do. And so the other thing that we deal with as parents of blind kids is teaching them how to use apps and teaching them how to do things as they turn into, come into young adults, how to manage their health care. It's something that we do every single day. And so these kids have a right to privacy as they start to manage their own health care, and being able to look at their prescription bottles is part of that. So I hope that you guys will continue to pass this bill and recognize that it's not a heavy lift. We all scan menus now every day. It's just a process, and it's something that changes. It's something that's different. But these blind kids and blind adults that are out in the world use this technology every day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, we have written testimony in support from the Disability and Communication and Access Board, Hawaii State Committee of Blind Vendors, Ho'opono, National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii, and 6 individuals in support, and written testimony with comments from the Department of Human Services, State of Hawaii. Members, are there any questions?
Chair?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, for the, let's see, the Board of Pharmacy, Mr. Skiwiski? Is that correct?
Skizuski.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. So you heard the previous testimony about the labels having the code imprinted on it. Are
Yes.
you familiar with that technology?
Yeah, I know some of the larger retail pharmacies do have it available.
So most pharmacies print their own labels, right? So
I think
requiring that to be added to the label, would seem not to be a very expensive thing to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the board isn't aware of the technology. I know some of the larger retailers in the state do utilize it, but the board members were not familiar with it at the time. So that's one of the key things to move forward, is that we're setting up the board to get, educated on the technology out
Yeah.
there. But I think the counseling comment was just more related to making the prescription readers available at the pharmacies, because that's what the pharmacists are there to do if they have any questions at the pharmacy. So that's just where that kind of sentiment comes from.
Right, right. I mean, even for me, I know I gotta take off my glasses to read the labels to make
Yeah,
sure
I mean, some of
I got the right bottle.
the prescription labels are quite
Yeah.
extensive in instructions.
Okay, I guess that's something you guys can take a look at.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other members with questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll be moving on to HB 187, HD1. This is relating to renewable energy. First to testify, we have Mark Glick, Chief Energy Officer from the Hawaii State Energy Office, with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Representatives. Cameron Black on behalf of the Hawaii State Energy Office. We stand on our written testimony offering comments, and I'll be here for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Malcolm Barkars from the Associated Builders and Contractors Hawaii Chapter, in opposition.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Malcolm Barkar, Jr., ABC Hawaii. We're in opposition to this bill as it creates a precedent. First time where the state will be mandating union labor and prevailing wage requirements on private projects. We are especially concerned with this draft, the HD1 draft that came out, which blanks out the megawatt requirement. So in theory, all renewable energy projects are subject to this bill. So therefore, we ask that this bill be held. You also have our written testimony, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Greg Shimokawa, Director from Hawaiian Electric, with comments.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Greg Shimokawa for Hawaiian Electric. Just with some comments on this bill. So, in general, Hawaiian Electric is supportive of the use of local labor and the paying of prevailing wages for, as we help to get to our renewable energy goals. I just wanted to point out that, we do have, at the moment, 17 requests for proposals for renewable energy projects out, in various stages of development, and numerous projects in the pipeline or in the future coming up, and we just want to make sure that we as a state are able to deliver on these goals that we're getting to. So in addition to the written testimony, I wanted to point that out. Thank you. Available for questions.
Thank you. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, we have. Oh, please go ahead.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. Chris Delaney with Pacific Resource Partnership, in strong support of the bill. This bill is a great opportunity to provide long-term career opportunities for Hawaii residents and ensure that reputable contractors are building renewable energy projects in the state of Hawaii. The prevailing wage requirement in the bill will provide Hawaii residents with an opportunity to earn a living wage with benefits to keep up with Hawaii's high cost of living. Prevailing wages help keep residents off of welfare and other government assistance programs, stimulate Hawaii's economy, and provide economic stability for workers and their families. There's also an apprenticeship program requirement, but this is not just for union, it's for non-union too, because both union and non-union are part of a state-approved apprenticeship program through DLIR. So it's for both. So this is going to create a lot of opportunities, and most importantly, this will provide, the apprenticeship program will provide training programs that will strengthen the overall skill levels of Hawaii's workforce to be compatible with the renewable energy industry, providing Hawaii with a workforce that can help meet its clean energy needs by 2045. So we respectfully ask for your support on this, and we also had a small amendment for the megawatt. We're suggesting that, or recommending that it be for projects more than 1 megawatt. This is to kind of align with the federal government's Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members, we have written testimony from the Department of Land and Natural Resources with comments, Office of Information Practices with comments, General Contractors Association of Hawaii in opposition, Operating Engineers Local 3, Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters, all in support, and an individual in support. Members, are there any questions?
Chair?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Hawaiian Electric? There's nobody here from PUC, right? Hi, thanks for your testimony and for being here. So you talked about the number of projects that you folks have already are in the process of either awarding or requesting proposals for. Do any of those provide any kind of wage information in terms of how much technicians or laborers are being paid?
That's not currently a requirement that they disclose that. And at the time that we select them, generally they don't have their contractors in place necessarily. What we do have, and in the written testimony, make a little bit of a mention of that, is in our request for proposals process and in our evaluation, we do preference the use of, the commitment to using local labor and paying prevailing wages. So we require, comprehensive community outreach plan, and part of that is a labor plan for developers to provide.
So there is a labor plan that's required for each project?
Not a labor plan specifically, but as part of this community outreach, community plan, we ask them to describe, what their commitments are going to be. And so we don't see their contracts, we don't see, their rates or anything like that, but we ask them to provide us what their plans are.
Okay. How many renewable solar projects have you guys completed so far, statewide?
So in our current set of procurements going back to 2017, we're currently in our third phase of that. Right now we're open for bids on Maui, Oahu, and Hawaii Island. We've got 2 projects now, in operations, in service. From that effort, we've got another 7 or 8 more in the pipeline, in various stages of construction and development. And this next stage, later on this year, we'll be selecting projects out of the current RFPs. So
Okay, so you have 2 projects that are
2 projects
completed since
currently completed.
2017?
Out of that request for proposal process, yes.
Okay. You have, do you know how many of those, of the 2 projects had local contractors that were contracted to actually build out the projects?
I don't know the amount of local labor that the contractors use. I don't have that with me.
Okay. But, so in your evaluation of these upcoming projects, you do look at this community plan, and you said there's a preference to using local labor?
That's
or
correct.
local companies with local labor?
Well, we evaluate the overall developer of the project. So part of their project team, they would identify subcontractors, or they would identify a plan at least for how they're going to complete their project. And so we ask for explanation or description of what they're planning to do.
And how much weight is placed on that in your evaluation?
So the community outreach portion of the evaluation is part of our non-price portion, and that in total is 40% of the evaluation. So it's about 5% or so of the overall
Of the
evaluation.
40 or of the
5%
overall?
total,
Oh,
approximately, for the whole community outreach. So all the aspects of that. So not just the labor portion.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any
Chair,
oth-
if I might,
Oh, please go ahead.
PRP? PRP? Yeah.
Yes. Representative.
Hi, so your testimony is that you support this requirement.
Yes.
So historically, prevailing wages are only on state-funded or state-sponsored or government-sponsored.
Public works projects.
Right,
Yeah.
so federal or state. So how does this relate to that, I guess, historical requirement?
Yeah, well, the idea is that it's basically we're providing an opportunity for living wages for workers, opportunity for apprenticeship programs, for them to be well trained in order to build the workforce that we need to build these types of projects. And this is definitely, I think HECO is a public utility, the only one, right? And
No, we have Kauai,
oh, in Kauai too.
right?
Right. So it's supposed to serve a public purpose, right? So there's similarities, but there has never been, I guess because Chapter 104 is way back, maybe the 50s, 70s, and so forth. So this is kind of something new, right? We have this new solar, new renewable energy technology coming in on a large scale, utility scale, and so forth. So I don't think it was ever considered to be a part of Chapter 104, but we think that it's important to, especially for these projects that are supposed to be serving the communities and providing a benefit, economic benefit, and opportunity for young adults as well as anyone who wants to get into this new green energy economy to have that opportunity. And the only way to do that is to incentivize it through living wages, which is like prevailing wage, and also through the proper training in order for them to get up to speed with the new technologies and to produce the energy we need to actually meet our goals, state goals. So that's why we're advocating for this. And it's for union and non-union too. Apprenticeship programs, like I said, have both. So I just see it as a great benefit to the state of Hawaii.
So do you have any data on what, in the 2 projects that have been completed, what the employees were being paid?
I don't know specifically which projects are you talking about?
The 2 current projects, right?
You mean the Waiava?
Waiava and
The which one?
Mililani from last year.
Oh, Mililani last year. So the data, I don't know exactly what they've been paid, but I know that I believe in those projects there was living wage, right? That was paid, because I believe some of the unions actually worked on some of those projects. So yeah, so I believe that.
So you don't have any data?
I mean, I don't have any specific numbers. That's kind of like a private project, right? And I don't think I.
Well,
I
and
can
all
gauge
these
that.
others are
Yeah.
going to be private projects, right?
Yes, they're private projects, right, right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, but this is just for construction, right? It's not for operation.
Yeah. That's how I read it, yes.
Yeah, so, I guess, but you don't know that these people are not trained, right? Or the companies that are involved
Well, the
do
guys.
the training
Yeah,
to provide their employees with the
yeah.
knowledge and the background to do future projects, right?
Well, I know our members who have worked on those projects are well-trained. They've gone through a state-approved apprenticeship program. They're paid a living wage, so our members that have worked on these projects, yes, I know that they've received the proper training. We've also had our contractors, so we represent the carpenters union as well as contractors. And our contractors have said that, the apprenticeship program is key, and also it's helped them to move these projects along quickly, and also to give them a solid workforce, because a lot of the guys that come out of the programs, they're skilled and they don't have to send anyone back, and they can just kind of move forward and get these projects executed in a timely manner. So I've heard very positive benefits from contractors who've been working on this and laborers, that these types of provision are very helpful.
Okay, but
yeah.
do you have any information that because we're not doing this, it's a detriment to the projects being completed?
I mean, we've seen it. There hasn't been that many, but it's opening up and it's getting bigger, and there's definitely more opportunities for unskilled workforce to come in because they can throw lower bids in. And we've tracked projects on a grand scale in the construction industry, and we've seen it where low bids come in, they take it. You
Well,
got
you're talking about all construction
Yes,
projects,
yes, but
right?
this is kind of newer.
So let me ask you
Yeah.
this. So you guys would also be in agreement that any private construction project would require prevailing wages?
any.
Yeah. Like say,
I
A
mean, I
pri-
think
a
that would be, it would be good that people are paid a living wage, for sure, but I'm not going to say that I would require every project. I mean,
Well,
that's-
you're saying it's in the government's interest, right? That the workforce is trained correctly, that they have a living wage, et cetera. So, I mean, that would translate that we should have this requirement for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I would hesitate to say everything, but specifically for this, I think it's a great bill, and I think it's definitely going to improve not only the lives of local residents, you know, and already Kiko, as you heard, is going down that track, you know, with having a preference for prevailing wages and hiring local. So I think it's a step forward in actually providing something a little more better and robust. Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions?
Hawaii Electric. Yeah, I think the bill initially called for 10 megawatt projects, and you know, in terms of size, you know, I have no idea what that means. What's the difference in like land mass from a 1 megawatt project to a 10 megawatt project?
Sure. So 1 megawatt projects are relatively small, and the conversion's escaping me, but it's I think it's 5 acres or so is roughly equivalent to 1 megawatt. So
Okay. And do you, if we were to impose a requirement like this, do you have a idea of whether it should be the 10 megawatt project or the 1 megawatt project?
no, I don't think that really changes our position on this. It's just that the lower the threshold for projects, just the more, you know, the more projects we get swept into being covered by this, and you know, just affecting sort of the overall labor pool.
Okay. Then when you look at the preference that you have for hiring local, you know, you mentioned that you know it's 40% of the decision. What kind of how do you assess that, and what kind of follow-up is done to see if it actually came to fruition?
Right. No, that's a good question. So I just want to clarify that 40% is the whole qualitative portion of the evaluation. So the community outreach is just one of the criteria there. So
Okay.
you know, roughly 4 or 5% is what breaks down for, or yeah, 5 to 8%, I guess, is the community portion of that in total. So we do have provisions to make sure that the commitments that get made are followed through on. We make sure that the community outreach plan that gets submitted is a public document, and that's something that developers are required to continue to update and to work with Hawaiian Electric's community outreach team, so that's an open conversation with the community. And so, you know, in addition to what's in our requirements, you know, the community will hold the developers to account for promises that are being made, you know, in the process.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, members, any
Chair,
other
I
questions?
have a follow-up for Hawaiian Electric.
Please go ahead.
So, you know, the cost of the project has an effect on the contract and the cost per kilowatt hour that is generated that you pass on to the consumer?
That's correct. So the cost for the project, or the cost that gets bid into the project, that gets passed through, you know, completely, you know, to customers. So if developers are accounting for, you know, a higher amount of labor cost, that would get rolled into their bid price.
So it's in the public interest that these projects that you guys are requesting for renewable energy sources for power be reasonably cheap so that it continues to reduce the amount of the cost for electricity generated.
That's correct. So the price aspect is a big part. It's, 60% of our evaluation is based on price, because we recognize that, cost stability and, lowered cost, ultimately, help our customers.
And that's the public interest,
That's
right?
That's correct. That's
Right. And then, so when the PUC evaluates your contract with this proposer to provide the power, what is their main focus in terms of whether or not they accept your project or not?
sure. Well, not to speak for the PUC, but they take a holistic approach at looking at the project and the application for approval that we submit, with the selected developer. But we do make price and cost and impact on customers is a big part of that application. So that is something that the commission looks at very closely.
Right, so this requirement would require the contractor to be paying the federal prevailing wage for construction workers. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Right, construction and utility workers that do the hookup of the system, but it doesn't include your costs to hook up that system to the grid, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't include the Hawaiian Electric costs.
Okay.
For
But those costs could increase the cost of the price of the project.
the developer cost, not the Hawaiian Electric
Right,
costs.
the developer
right?
costs, and then therefore affect the costs that you pass on to the consumer.
Correct. So whatever is in the price that's, the bottom line price that's from the developer gets passed on.
Okay,
Right? Hawaiian
thank
Electric
you.
costs are completely separate, right? Not included.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey members, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to HB 11, HD1. This is relating to time sharing plans. First to testify on this measure, we have Lori Beth from the Timeshare Administrator DCCA with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lori Beth Van Canfort, Timeshare Administrator with DCCA. I provided written testimony offering comments, and we have been working with the proponents of the bill to try and come to an agreement on some language, and we are still working with them. But I did want to point out one section of the bill, Section 2 of the bill, where it's making a change to a cross-reference to a section in the timeshare law in two places. And it's changing this cross-reference from 514E-9A7 to Section 514E-9A8. And I'm not sure why that was put into the bill, but that's a wrong cross-reference that it's changing to. And it should remain 514E-9A7. Because if it changes, then it does not make any sense. And I stand on the rest of my testimony, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Next, we have Charles E. Pear, Jr. from the American Resort Development Association in support on Zoom.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right, I'm just going to try to put this in perspective for you, but try to do it very quickly since I have a minute. I bet you don't know many people who read the entire owner's manual for their car, let alone people who read it before they bought it. We in the timeshare business give consumers a disclosure statement to help them decide whether to buy something or not. We're concerned that if it's too long, nobody will read it. And under current law, the disclosure statement must list all encumbrances on title. Pardon? I'm sorry, I missed that. Disclosure statements must list all the encumbrances on title, and I'm working on a filing now where just the list of the deeds into the plan is over 200 pages. People are not going to read that. That's why we're working on this bill. It's important to the consumers, we think. It also relieves the consultants of the obligation to review them all. Right now, the current statute requires them to read them all. And that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Justin Vermouth from the American Resort Development Associations in support on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Justin Vermouth from ARDA in strong support of legislation. I submitted written testimony as well. I would just like to add a few comments. As Mr. Para said, this is about streamlining the disclosures. There was a recent Deloitte study that found that 66% of new timeshare buyers are either Generation Z or millennials. And so, these are folks that aren't used to getting stacks of paper. It's not a good consumer protection to give them hundreds and hundreds of sheets of paper. They want things on their smartphones, things digitally that are searchable. And, that's just the way they consume information. And that's the way to provide good consumer protection to them, because that's how they digest information. And, I'll also add on top of the consumer protection aspect, this will also ease some of the strain on DCCA and the consultants to be able to process these registrations. Right now, there's a severe backlog in new registrations and renewals, and this will, not only provide better consumer protections, but also alleviate some of the burden on the agency. And that's all my testimony, and happy to answer any questions of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members, we have written testimony in support from the Hilton Grand Vacations, as well as Marriott Vacations Worldwide, and written testimony in opposition from Unite Here Local 5. Members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a short recess for decision making. Recess.
Committee on Consumer Protection and Commerce reconvening for decision-making Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, 2 p.m. Hearing in conference room 329. Okay. And the first measure, House Bill 218, House Draft 1, related to prescription drugs. Chair's recommendation is that we move this along, making an amendment to preclude sole proprietor pharmacies with 2 or less pharmacists. And because I'm not sure how much the technology will cost, it doesn't preclude the pharmacists from participating in the program, but I am giving them this loophole for the time being, not knowing too much about the technology required to print the labels. Also, I'd like to note that the rules adopted for this should be in accordance with Chapter 91 HRS. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
Voting on HB 218 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Amato?
Aye.
Representative Bellotti? Excused. Representative Hashem?
Aye.
Representative Hussey Burdick? Excused. Representative Gates? Excused. Representative Lowen?
Aye.
Representative Nishi?
Aye.
Representative Tam?
Aye.
Representative Keurig?
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. House Bill 187, House Draft 1, related to renewable energy. Chair's recommendation is that we adopt DLR's requested amendment regarding apprenticeship, that the definition of large-scale projects, covered projects, would be the 10 megawatts as in the original measure. And I'd like to include in the committee report the Energy Office's recommendations that they listed. Members, any questions or comments?
Chair?
Yes.
You know, I really have concerns as to, you know, I guess the basis for this bill. I mean, it would seem that these private projects are privately done because of the costs, right? I mean, it's, the whole concept is to try to move towards renewable, but in a way that reduces the consumer's costs. In my mind, this bill has the possibility of increasing the costs for these projects, thereby maybe not even making them feasible and not reducing the cost to the consumer. So at this point, I really don't see the need for this based on the evaluation and, well, the testimony of Hawaiian Electric and the fact that they are already considering the benefit of using local companies and local labor. And, you know, I mean, in this day and age with the scarcity of laborers, I'm sure they're being paid a decent wage. So with that, I'm going to be voting no on this bill.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any other questions or comments?
Brief comment.
Okay, Representative Lowen.
Just thank you for passing this bill. I think it just ensures that we are offering prevailing wage for renewable energy projects. And although that's happening in most cases, it hasn't always happened in every single case. And although it's required under the funds coming from the IRA funds aren't going to be forever. So I think this is just an important measure. I think energy costs of renewables will continue to be lower than you know, other types of energy, but you know, we don't want the cheaper cost to ratepayers to come at the cost of paying a living wage. So mahalo. And even if labor costs are high right now because there's demand, this is more ensuring things into the future. So thank you for considering this, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
Voting on HB 187, HD 1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absences of Representative Hussey Burdick and Representative Gates, and the presence of Representative Bellotti. Any members voting no? Yes. Okay, Representative Purick and Representative Onishi voting no. Any other members voting no? Any members voting WR?
Reservations.
Reservations, Representative Bellotti. Okay, hold on. Okay, thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Finally, House Bill 11, House Draft 1, relating to timeshare sharing plans. Just recommendations that we pass this out as a HD2, incorporating the comments of Mr. Manaka into the body of the bill. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Voting on HB 11 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting the excused absences of Representatives Hussey Burdick and Gates. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations from Representative Tam. Any other members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. We are adjourned.